Welcome to the Passion Intersect podcast. Today's guest is Matt Millstein, a friend that I met on Twitter around 2020. Since then, we launched a podcast together named Beyond the Book. We shared our perspectives about books we read, nonfiction books, for about a season. Matt is an incredibly smart and young man. He is the founder and CEO of Also, an agency that builds podcasts for businesses for creating thought leadership, storytelling, lead generation, and marketing. I enjoyed my conversation with Matt so much, and I hope that you will too. So let's start the chat.
Wow. How are you doing? So honored to be here. Thank you.
It's my real pleasure, and it's funny that we make the catch up call on the podcast. So
on the podcast, yeah.
It cannot get as natural as it's gonna be. So.
Yeah, for sure. Who knows what we're gonna talk about?
So tell me, brother, how you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We're moving from where we've been at for about a year in 3 weeks, going to the East Coast. It's a 20-hour drive away from where we're at currently. Very much looking forward to it. And business is good. We've landed a few new clients, and I've been working on getting my systems down and getting some content out there, but feeling very blessed. How about you?
That's amazing. It's amazing to hear. I came back from Bali, Japan, in Montreal, new apartment. I'm staying here for another year, and from there, I don't know if I'm staying here or I'm going somewhere else. I want to go somewhere else, but depends on system, depends on the business, depends on life.
Right.
But I want to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. So you'll find a way. I know you will. And the beauty of your business is you have that flexibility, so you can, move and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I nailed down the first pillar of freedom, which is like location freedom. But there's many others that needs work,
Of course. Of course.
How about you, like business wise? How are you seeing like yourself in the next 3 years, 2 years, whatever it might be?
So truthfully, I'm not even looking that far ahead. I have goals for this year that I really want to hit. One of them is by my wedding in October, I basically want to add about a 50% increase to monthly recurring revenue. And then I want to add like 10K to that by end of year. That's one goal. Another goal is I want to really seriously look at hiring. I'm kind of at the spot where I don't know if I should hire someone full time, if I really have the volume for that. At this point, I don't feel like I do. I also don't want to make the mistake of hiring someone and giving them more tasks than they really should be responsible for. Because you and I both know most businesses, they hire a social media manager and they expect them to edit, to make graphics, to post, to engage with the community, like all these different things. And it's like, no. One task, two tasks, like let's not burn our people out. So that's something, because I relate to that very much. I don't want to be that leader, be that boss. So yeah, it's mainly acquiring new clients, getting my systems built out for scaling. I've come a long way with sales, where I feel very confident in it, and I'm not selling. I'm just talking through with another business owner on where they're at, where they want to go, and we do the math.
Amazing. Yeah, looks like we've come like a long way, and since last year. Yeah, for the audience that didn't know, me and you had a podcast before about books that we read. I don't know if you're still reading books or you don't find times.
I am. I'm reading a very thick book. It's like a textbook right now, called Evidence Demands a Verdict. And then I'm reading another one called Nonviolent Communication. You know my background with communication.
Yeah.
So that's a really good book. And then I just picked up, I'm a nerd, the Star Wars. I don't read nonfiction, but their Star Wars Celebration just happened last week, and they announced that this character is coming to live action. I know nothing about him. And I was like, I've heard great things about this book. I want to try reading not for, you know, getting all this knowledge and personal development. Like, let's read for enjoyment. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I changed my mind about reading nonfiction books because,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I know you didn't do that before.
I didn't, but I still don't. But I'm gonna do it because it helps with storytelling and
Oh,
it helps
100%.
with
Yeah.
creativity. And
Yeah.
so, if it does, why not?
Yeah.
And like it helps paint pictures, movies, even in your own mind. And the more you
100%.
read those kind of stuff, the more you can replicate in your own. So yeah, that's something that I'm gonna implement
That's
because
cool.
I'm not reading a thing right now. Like it's been
Sure.
since I think December last year
Yeah.
before the new year, the last book that I read. Other than
Yeah.
that, I think for me right now it's better what I'm doing. I just like pick a book, read, find a concept, find something,
Mhm.
take the idea, do something with it instead of have to finish the book. I don't do
That's a
that
big one.
anymore.
That's a
And
big one. This one book I'm reading, I was getting through this chapter and it's like a textbook and it was just super dense. And I was struggling with it. And then I realized you don't have to read it. I mean, you're reading at the point where you're not remembering, you're not retaining. So like go to a more enjoyable part so that you get through the book versus hitting this roadblock and being like, well, I'm done with the book. But you're absolutely right. We need to take reading on our own terms.
so are you like now reading for not for the sake of reading, but like
Mhm.
picking a book for having ideas to implement on your life, business, or just like having some new thoughts?
Very good question. I would say it's a mix of both. This one book I'm reading, Evidence Demands a Verdict. It's a book that basically it's all about apologetics. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's very tied to my belief in Christianity. And basically, the book is finding evidence for the Bible outside of the Bible. So
Mm.
it's getting into like how was information written down back then? Like what utensils were they using? Like there was a chapter all on like different manuscripts and everything like that. So that book, I'm reading that more for knowledge. Like I want to have a better understanding. This deepens my faith. It helps me make a better uh, case or argument for my faith as well. And then the other book, The Nonviolent Communication, that's more how can I be a more well-rounded human, both in my personal relationships and in my business relationships. And then that Star Wars book, that's simply for enjoyment. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. So
Yeah.
are you reading like this book with the Bible, or are you gaining knowledge from the other book too? Like when you
Yeah.
read the Bible, you have more understanding.
So that's tough because I before I started reading this book, every morning I was doing a Bible study. I was in the Bible, I was reading it, digesting it. And then this book, I will pull out the Bible from time to time. They'll reference different scriptures, but they'll also pull in that scripture and you can read it right there. So it does feel like I'm more in this than the Bible, but I am watching myself to make sure I'm getting into the word at all. So I try to balance the two. Um, yeah, good question though.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel the same. Me personally, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that into reading Quran every single day,
Mm,
but I do read it and I seek knowledge every single day, like to
that's good.
understand better the religion and so on. That's a passion of mine
Yeah.
that I cannot not do it.
Right. Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's one of the single thing that you can say it's the only passion that I won't ever keep a penny from it if I make money with it.
Yeah.
When it comes
No,
to religion, it's a
yeah,
different breed.
it is. It is. I mean, that's what gives purpose. And I know a lot of people, there's really two ways of thought with it. Either there is no God, there is no theistic entity, or there is. And, this book has really made a case for if we look at things logically, if we use science, it it's kind of difficult to really make the claim that there is no theistic being out there. Just that, if we were a little bit closer to the sun, all the water on Earth would evaporate. If we were a little
Yes.
further away, it would all freeze. if we didn't have all the planets where they're aligned, we'd be having more meteors, asteroids, I forget which one it is. I think asteroids hitting the Earth. If the moon wasn't where it was at, we wouldn't be on the tilt that we're at, and we wouldn't have seasons like we have them. And it's like there are too many things to just happen that makes me feel like, no, there's an intelligent designer. You know, you created this podcast for a purpose. A painter creates a painting for a purpose. We were created for a purpose. So
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. And you know what? I heard the exact same thing on it's called the TV show called Young Sheldon, and he was explaining to his mother because she's a Christian, she believes and so on, but he doesn't, right? He doesn't
yeah,
believe in God.
that's the one from Big Bang Theory, right? Like the
Exactly,
spin-off? Yeah, okay,
exactly,
cool. Yeah, I've
exactly.
never seen it though, but I'm familiar.
Yeah, and he said that if the gravity has a single, like it's 0.01 more,
Hmm.
then the Earth collapse, and if it's
Yeah,
0.01 less, then it explodes, something like that, or it's in reverse.
yeah,
I don't know it like
sure.
specifically, but the same concept, you know. And I'm like,
Yeah,
damn, I didn't need Sheldon
yeah,
to believe in God, but
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that's something more than that, you know.
yeah. No, I mean, there's so many things that just showed to, yeah, there is a creator. Because even if you look at Big Bang and all, it's like, okay, but where did that come from? Something outside of space, time, and matter would have to create the moment that developed the universe and the cosmos as we know it. And there isn't a case for it because what can create itself outside of itself?
I didn't
God.
have like much debates with atheists,
Yeah,
but I love seeing and watching those kind of debates. And
sure.
one of them was super interesting. Like the question is simple, you know. Before launching the podcast, we asked each other about like the camera and so on. And
Yeah,
you know, like your camera right now, your webcam, someone designing it, right? And
yep,
it is complex. Like you
yep.
cannot build this camera. I cannot
I
build a
will
camera.
not. Yeah, ever in my life.
You
Yeah,
know, and even like the MacBook, whatever it might be, the
yeah,
chair, whatever.
yeah.
And what is more complex, the camera or the human being, like
The
the
human
body?
being.
And so yeah, that's what's
Yeah,
crazy, you know. So you're
yep,
telling me the human being is like came from nothing, like from
yeah.
no one would be, but the camera needs someone to build it, you know.
Absolutely. No,
It's
I'm right
a
there with you.
Yeah, it's a big topic, but I mean,
It
this
is.
is just like open your mind if you are
Hmm.
close-minded from the beginning, you know. But you know, it's
Absolutely. I mean, it lends to, so what is my purpose in life? My purpose is not to build a 20 million figure agency. That is not my purpose. My purpose is not to make more money than Jeff Bezos. It's not, my purpose is not to be happy. I have a purpose outside of all of that, a purpose I believe I was given the world. I mean, I believe I have a mission help to help those in need, to help end world hunger. That's a big thing. That's something I'm extremely passionate about. So when I don't want to take a client call, I have to think, okay, well, to help end world hunger, the business needs to get to this point so then I can start the nonprofit and I can partner with the right people, etc. So I need to get on. And our faith is kind of what gives us the direction to navigate life.
That's super interesting. You know, I want to go deeper on that.
Sure.
Yesterday, I tweeted something like very, very similar to that because I was driving. I've seen a tweet on a red light, but I couldn't answer because I was driving, obviously,
Very good.
and I forgot. Like I didn't find the tweet because
Sure.
anyway, the tweet was like, if those people who start a business are on their passion board, right? And yeah. Anyway,
Interesting. Okay.
I wanted to answer that, but after like you know
Yeah.
what, I didn't find it. I just tweeted about it, and
Sure.
for me, it makes sense in a sense
Yeah.
because me personally, I started my business for selfish reasons. I don't want to like see the price every time that I want to shop to groceries. I don't want to
Facts.
see the menu fancy
Facts.
restaurants,
Yep.
and I want to spend as much time as possible as I can on gym,
Yeah.
like in the gym, without having to worry about meetings, work, whatever it
Right.
might be, you know. But
Right.
after there's non-selfish reasons, which is like
Hmm.
buying a home for my mom, helping
Mm.
my entire family if I can,
Love it.
and build mosques around the world. Like this is something that
Really?
I really want
Okay.
to do that like for
Very
a
cool.
long time, but I need money for that.
Of course.
you can you know pledge money, fund money, raise money, whatever it might be for those kind of projects.
Hmm.
But I mean, I want to do it with my money, with
Yes.
mine. Like I
Yes.
have the money to do that, and whatever the
Exactly.
country is, like for
Yeah.
example in Bali, you can like I don't know maybe 300K, and you build something right away.
Wow.
And like if you're making millions per
Yeah.
year, that's peanut. You know.
It is. It is. And when you're at that spot, because I'm of the same mindset, it's like, okay, to accomplish ending world hunger, I've been asked, well, why don't you just start the nonprofit now? And I believe that, you know, I don't want to get into capitalism too much. I believe, though, that by building my business, Old Soul, to the point where it is running, I'm going to be better, well connected. So, to your point as well, when you have your business to the point where you're generating millions and you can build that mosque, you're going to have better connections that you might be able to pull in to achieve your dream, to achieve building more mosques. And it's the same thing for me. And I believe that I really don't think, like you had mentioned, that it was selfish of you to start the business. I don't think that's selfishness. I think selfishness comes into play when you want to accomplish those goals and you're willing, not, this is going to sound harsh, to hurt other people. You're willing to, put others down. You're willing to, do whatever it takes, which could involve, not being honest, stabbing people in the back and whatnot. I think having the desire to live life on your terms, I don't look at that as being selfish. I think it's counterculture because, we're raised to go through school for 18 years of our life, 15 years, whatever, and then go to school again and then get a job. And then we're working for someone else's dream. And it's like, no, let's do life on our terms.
Yeah, definitely. Me
Yeah.
personally, I agree with like following passions for whatever, even if it's
Sure.
selfish, even if it's not.
Yeah.
Most likely, when you follow your passion for your job, like for making money with it, then yeah, it might be for money,
Hmm.
but like those who are getting paid doing what they love, right?
Yeah.
So if we follow this kind of advice that they're
Hmm.
selfish, they don't want to face boredom, whatever it might be, then from this perspective, I need to be miserable.
Yeah.
Like I have to do something that I don't like.
Yeah.
I have to please people. I have to,
Mm.
you have to live against yourself, against your
Right.
desires. But I
Right.
think there's desires that are destructive and there are desires that are good for you at the end of the day, like desiring to marry
100%.
someone you love, whatever it might be.
Yep.
There's other desires marrying someone that is toxic for you. But
Yeah.
that's comes down to common sense. But not
Hmm.
everyone has common sense, which
Correct.
brings to
Yeah.
the first point, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And it also, I think a lot of it also depends on how we were raised, the cultures in which we live. Are we in a more individualistic culture or a culture that is about community? Um, yeah, but I totally agree. I think that we live life on our terms and it's okay to do things that make us happy. We don't have to fit the mold and make someone else's dream come true when it puts us at a detriment.
Definitely. Completely agree with you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
tell me,
Mhm.
do you have like any new passion that you found or like new interest in the last year?
No. And I think that's a good thing because you know this, your listeners probably don't, but you and I discussed often back when about shiny object syndrome. And you know that like the things that I was always jumping from one thing to the next and whatnot. So I'm happy to say no, there aren't these new passions I'm doing. You see a drum set behind me. That's been a passion of mine since I was a little kid. That's what I went to school for originally. So I have an electric kit sitting on my business. I doubled down on podcasting. I am not doing, 43 different jobs. I have a main offer with 3 packages. It's like I have been extremely intentional with giving my business the respect it deserves, and that includes my intention and attention.
Amazing.
And that's where I've been with it. Yeah. How about you?
I changed a lot in the last year regarding like mindset
That's
and
good.
vision, depending on like different things such as
Okay.
niching down and so on. Because I noticed that having multi passions, being multiple interests and so on, some advice just don't work with you, with us, with me, whatever
Mm-hmm.
by be, because those kind of generic advice that you have to niche down, it put like a lot of pressure
Sure.
on my decisions, on my
Okay.
decisions making. And we discussed the first book that we read with, I think it was uh, Manifesto something from Blair
Oh yeah,
Ents.
when without pitching. Yeah.
Exactly, and that made me like launch my Shopify studio and so on, and
Yeah.
with all kind of advice from the future, etc., etc., which are good, but like I said,
Yeah.
it doesn't work for everyone,
Sure.
and that put me in a box where I felt like my work is valued at X amount of money, which
Right.
wasn't because of many other specifics, such as testimonials, portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
network, whatever it might be. And instead of focusing on building relationships, networking, etc., uh, I focus on the wrong things, like having the right website, having beautiful logo, making like case studies, beautiful case studies, etc., etc. But nobody cares. Like
Yeah.
nobody cares how beautiful your
Yeah.
work is
Yeah. I
if they
know.
don't know you. When you're
I know.
asking them $10,000, they don't
Yeah.
give a shit about your work.
They don't.
And like from that moment, I was like, you know what? Who am I to ask 10K to someone who doesn't know me,
Sure.
without testimonials, without tangible results, etc., etc. So I changed my approach, and I pivoted. Like every time I text you, I'm trying this new thing. I'm trying this
That's
new thing,
good.
you
That's
know.
good. Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where like I started personal brand on Twitter, talking about whatever the hell I want actually, and that's
Right.
where this podcast come from
Cool.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'm at a point where I just do what I feel like what I feel like is good. I don't really
Yeah.
follow any kind of advice at the moment. In the future it may be, but now it's like there's too much noise. Everyone is an expert, everyone is giving advice, everyone has like made 100K, 200K, but at the end of the day now, like 100K is like peanut. Even if I'm not making that,
Isn't that wild?
yeah,
Isn't
it's
that kind of weird? Like I had this realization. I was talking to my fiance. Like we hit this number, and I said, "This is what we're bringing in every month." And it's just like that. It's just it feels in running the business at first glance, it's like that's a lot. But then after you look at expenses and everything, it doesn't feel like that. But I still feel like the disconnect is there. And to your point, making 100K a year was like you're doing really good. But nowadays, with the cost of living, it's like you can't. I've done the math. I think you need to do 180,000 a year to afford a $500,000 home, which
yeah, yeah.
in a certain area we were looking at, like that was the average. And it's like that ain't what it was 4 decades ago or whatever. But yeah, no, I hear your point. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, point. Cost of living is crazy. And that's why I want to get the hell out of here, because it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense at all.
No.
I mean, maybe it makes sense for others, but like there's a lot of people who cannot like afford to live comfortably right now. So
No.
you have to make sacrifices right now, and not everyone is willing to make sacrifices. Like their old lifestyle, which a particular amount of money per month was able to afford, like eating that kind of stuff, going outside, etc., etc., is not possible right now with the same amount of money you were making before. So if you didn't upgrade, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're still behind, and you have to either downgrade your cost of living or upgrade your income, which is not really possible if you are in a 9 to 5 working
Yeah.
for the same person with the
You hit
same
a
business.
ceiling because you might get a promotion, but it might just be a title role. There might be scope creep that you were facing in the 9 to 5. So you were doing the work of a fractional CMO as a social media manager, but you weren't paid like a CMO or fractional. And then you get the promotion and they're like, well, we're going to call you, now you're a marketing manager or whatever. And you're still not making more money. You make like maybe a couple additional bucks every year, but it doesn't amount to anything. And yeah, I mean, I don't understand how everyone talks about recession, inflation. Yes, inflation has gone up. Why are companies having record profits and we're still having, eggs cost whatever? Like it just, there is a point where it's like, this really feels like corporate greed. You have these massive layoffs, but these same companies are making more money than they've ever made before. It's like, make it make sense. Why are these CEOs getting, massive pay increases and their people are being punished? They're the ones doing the work. That's where I think capitalism can be extremely disgusting. Yeah. So
So
no, I hear you.
it's crazy. Yeah. Now
It
that you
is.
say it, I've heard, watched a podcast from Joe Rogan with Naval. That's from 3 years ago, and he's been like he predicted the future at some point. That's 3 years ago, talking about capitalism and so on. And he said that at some point, uh, contractors are gonna be the new norm. Like you're gonna wake up, right?
Yep.
And you can pick your phone, choose the job you wanna do today, get paid right away, do it,
Yep.
and you finish with your day. You don't have
Right.
to move anywhere, and that's where the companies are like gonna lose. Now they're not gonna feel the consequences of what they did, like layoff and so on. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know when, but it we're gonna be more expensive for them because they're gonna have to hire those person that they laid off because they took another path, creative path. They stack skilled, they
Yep.
learn more skills, they become more valuable, and now they cost you more money because you laid
Yep.
them off.
Yep.
And that's gonna happen. I predict like maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, from what I'm
I
what,
agree.
I'm seeing, especially with the prediction for
Hmm.
the creator economy. I don't know how many
Hmm.
billions, maybe 7, 10. I don't know. I don't
A
have the
lot.
exact numbers, but it's crazy. Like coaching industry, creator economy, like influencers,
Yeah.
nerd influencers. I don't know how to say that. There's influencers on Instagram, like those like model promoting like fitness and so on, and others on Twitter. I call them the knowledge influencers. So like
Sure.
your synthesizers, you're
Yeah.
like creating knowledge, etc. for those who got laid off and wanted to learn more, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going crazy. Especially like I've been on Twitter now for 3 months, and the amount of people that I met is just incredible. Like more than 20, 30
Imagine.
people that I
Yeah.
that I met with, all with kind of same aspirations. Some of them got laid off. Some of them are just fed up with the whole bullshit, like recession, not getting paid enough, and now like people are starting to realizing uh, their value, even like when they're working 9 to 5, right? Because they're it doesn't match the cost of living. That's why,
Right.
before it was good because you can afford a lot of things even with your 9 to 5, but now it is not cutting it.
No,
You
it's not.
have to upgrade.
You do. And people have side hustles and they've had them forever, but it's more it's more common now because the 9 to 5 doesn't give them the lifestyle that they want, the lifestyle pre-COVID. And we find a lot of headlines in the news talking about how difficult it is for employers to find, good employees. I believe that's because there's corporations at this point, because we saw through COVID, there were layoffs, there were massive hires, and then they just cut all these departments. You have nonsense like what happened at Twitter, where it gets acquired by a billionaire, and then he's like, all right, all of you guys are gone. And then he has to bring them back in so they can like get in the building or whatever. And it's just like people feel like, why, what, we don't owe these corporations anything. They're making way more money than we can ever dream of. We're the ones doing the work, and they don't even pay us right. We don't get all the benefits that we need. We've seen since COVID, paid time off has become more of a thing, and companies are like, you have unlimited PTO or limited travel days or whatever. I don't know. I just think that people are fed up, and I do believe our generation, 40 years from now, is going to be shifting things in a massive way, because we did go through COVID we weren't in high school when COVID happened, but we experienced it. The job search during COVID is something we all can relate to, whether it was finding a job or finding clients and going through that and the uncertainty with it all. It's going to be very interesting.
It is. Yeah, no, that made me think of another tweet that I've seen.
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs that are like fed up with like being an employee before, blah, 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 escaping rat race, whatever it might be.
Sure.
But then those entrepreneurs are hiring other people for the same kind of amount of money.
Yeah,
but
that's
that's where contractors come into place, you know?
Yep.
Those people, like, you cannot force someone to learn a skill and to become a freelancer, right? There's people who are okay with their 9 to 5. There's countries where if you pay them the same amount of money from like someone you're paying in the US, they can live for 10 years with that kind of money, you know? And they're good with the fraction of that amount, you know? Philippines, Argentina, I think as well. Those kind of countries that I hired some people from there. They're happy with like an amount of money, ridiculous amount of money, you know? And nobody cares at the end of the day. That's what they want. They don't want to build a personal brand. They don't want to build a business. They only want to work for that amount of money because they're good with it. They can live, sustain to their family and so on. In their position, like building a business is is more risky, more time consuming, there's more cons than pros to build a business in their situation, you know? And if I have been in their situation, I wouldn't build a business neither, you know?
Neither would I. Yeah.
So that's how I see it. Is if you make comparison, you know, it's like you're on Upwork, you live in the US, and for example, the US is like a low-end country, so the cost of living is super low, for example, 20K. And you're a podcast producer working with, for example, Qatar, you know, with people in Qatar, and they're hiring you to do that, paying you 60K per year, and you only need 20K to live. Why would you build a business now, you know, like just for the sake of
there's no reason
painting a picture,
because you get the security as well. And I think that's what a lot of people, you know, I can't knock people that want 9 to 5s because you have a security that I don't have. You have a retirement fund. You have a constant paycheck. Eventually my business will provide me a retirement fund. Eventually we'll have benefits and stuff like that. But you can also, you know, not every job, but I would say most 9 to 5s, when you're done working, you're done for the day. You and I both know, Ahmed, that, you know, we trade the 9 to 5 to work weekends as well, to work late at night. And it, not all the time, but just starting out, you know, I was working 12-hour days for months. And if I did it again, I would do the exact same thing again because it's, you know, it's just, there's different things. And also you and I are younger. So
yes,
we don't have the same responsibilities that a parent of 2 kids has. And if my situation was different in that way, I don't know if I would start a business because it's not just about my dreams and goals in life. I'm providing for a family. And that's a huge risk. And that's a risk I'm not sure I'd be willing to take.
Exactly. Yeah, that made me think exactly. You know, that's crazy. When you start to put yourself like in a different perspective, different situation, then you understand the chance you have to build a business. So if you don't have responsibilities, if you are fed up, if you are X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Then you start a business because of those reasons. But
Right.
like when it's only for the sake of money, it's never
Yeah.
enough. It's never enough. Like
Yeah.
money is not a big of a motivation at the end of the day, because when you have it, then what, you know?
You just find more ways to spend it, and then you're spending more than you make, and then it's just that constant cycle of I need to make more, I need to make more, I can buy this thing, that's going to bring fulfillment, it doesn't bring fulfillment, well maybe that will bring fulfillment, and it doesn't, and it's never ending. I totally agree.
Yeah, I wrote about the rat race, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of when, like, kind of the rat race is you pursue people who pursue the paycheck. I asked this on Twitter, and everyone has had a different perspective, but it's all related to money in a sense, or a feeling of emptiness because you're
Mm-hmm.
pursuing something that you never reach at some point. You know, it's an
Yeah.
endless pursuit. And it was super interesting, but because those are creators in some sense, person who respond are someone creating content, so they
Mm-hmm.
are either they have a 9 to 5 with building the personal brand on the side, or just content creator as a whole. And it's super different from someone who work a 9 to 5. There's a lot of people who I ask them, what do you think of the rat race? They don't even know what the rat race is,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's my question to you. What do you think the rat race is?
The rat race is not 9 to 5. The rat race isn't working for someone. To me, the rat race is you feel like you're trapped. You feel like your days are too similar, and you feel like you're not going anywhere. Because if we think about a rat running on a circle, hamster, whatever the heck it is, on one of those wheels, they're not moving forward. They're staying where they're at. Their legs are moving. They're still exerting energy. They're still getting tired, but they're not progressing. So the rat race to me is that feeling of I'm not moving further in life. I'm tired. I'm giving my energy. I'm running, but I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not feeling valued. I'm not feeling like I'm accomplishing anything. I feel like I'm seeing the same things every day. That's the rat race to me. You can have a 9 to 5 when you have, and there's passion in it, and you feel like you're making a difference, and you feel like you're living for something beyond yourself. You can have a 9 to 5 and work for someone. You can also be self-employed and be in the rat race. I reached that point in my business where I was like, man, I'm tired of doing the same things every day. I'm tired of waking up, client work, and then do that all day, and then go to sleep, and then wake up, client work, client calls, da da da. I was like, there's no growth. I didn't start a business to be trapped in that. So then I had to figure out ways, okay, how do we progress? How do we move forward? And so that's the rat race to me.
Yeah, you spoke my mind. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I was, yeah, it's exactly how I see it, and that's exactly how I felt as well. You know, my passion was started to become like a burden. Having to send a lot of fucking emails every day, more than more than 2,000
Yeah.
emails. Without, you know, I
Yeah.
told you we spoke about it,
I know.
cold
I
emails
know.
and so on.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was tiring. Like, you know, me personally, I never experienced kind of burnout whatsoever, except like physical burnout. But mind burnout, never ever. It's more
That's
like
good.
it's just like you feel like clutter. You know, it's filled with a lot of bullshit. Like
Sure.
you don't feel, like you said, you don't feel progress. You don't feel anything. You just feel at the same place every single day. Like
Yeah.
you have a video and you're playing replay, and then you're tired and you mean, like, I need to delete the video and just start another one as a whole, you know. And that's
I
exactly
like
what
that. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
and that's exactly like what I wanted to do, because if I still kept going, yeah, I might land a client, but that would take like more than a year, and then what, you know. I know for the fact that I wouldn't be fulfilled, because yeah, I have the client, but and now
Right.
if it's a bad client, then what, you know.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
And yeah, I feel very very fortunate, like, to have landed only good clients from the beginning. Like, I never had like
Good.
scope creep client kind of
Good.
thing. And that's because even if I didn't have any income for a lot of months, I still said no to people that I knew for a fact
It's
that would
good.
have been fucking, tiring and
Yeah,
BS, whole BS. So yeah, I felt trapped at some way, but oh, gladly we're out of it.
absolutely. I think it's admirable that you never had a bad client because you never operated from a place of scarcity. And scarcity leaves you feeling like I have to get this deal versus I have the option to get this deal. And when you're and I've struggled with this a lot because there's been many moments where it's like I need to get this deal because I need to make sure rent gets paid next month. I need to make sure airfare is purchased for this trip, whatever it is. And that's led to bad deals I've had. That's led to, you know, a lot of things. And I think when we operate from a place of abundance and we realize there are more fish out there are more clients out there, that that's going to be a major shift in the way that we look at things. And there are ways in your sales calls that you can tell who a bad client's going to be. When I'm talking to a prospect and they bring up money over and over and over again, I know that they're broke or they don't have the capital, the funding that they need to pay me. And I know that I'm going to be on the chopping block if the podcast doesn't, produce immediate results for them. It's like I need buy-in from people that see the vision, that see, oh yeah, we could go 6 months and one acquisition is going to pay for a year's worth of work. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. For people like when they ask me if like I'm audacious in a way because I'm gonna share like I shared my roadmap and so on. So technically, if you're a client and you read it, you know that I'm not generating money, right? And then when you see my price and you're gonna be like, oh, you're charging that, and you don't even have like you don't have money. So you're not in the position, quote unquote, to charge X amount of money. But I'm like, me personally, I prefer to hurt my ego asking money for from my parents or my friends if I'm in
yeah,
a position,
that's
whatever it
good.
might be, instead
That's good.
of like hurting your ego, devaluing yourself. I,
Yeah,
I that's how I see it, and I really don't care if they
that's
finally
good.
read it or whatever it might be, because those who have the right mindset don't think like that. They think,
Yeah.
yeah, I value the job of this guy, the work of this guy, the quality of the guy, and I don't care if he has money or not at the moment.
No, I agree. I've had I've had like maybe one or two calls where people have asked about like, so how many clients are you dealing with? And there's only one time where they were like, can we want to call your clients. And that was just kind of like, oh, that's a new one. Like, and I see it now. It's just because they have an older style business and that's the way business was done when they first got started, whatever. But yeah, I think there's a lot of growth that occurs when you stop caring so much about what people think
Yeah.
and you don't let this is a big revelation I had since the last time we spoke. My self-worth was very much tied to what I produced. If I produced a lot, I'm sitting on the balcony smoking a cigar, feeling good, We're celebrating. If I don't produce, I'm kicking myself, waking up extra early, going to bed extra late, stressing, operating from a place of scarcity. And when I realized that's just my output, that doesn't reflect who I am as a person. Doesn't reflect that I'm kind, I'm loving, I'm patient, like the good things. It's none of it. It's just business. And like making that distinction really helped me a lot because getting into calls, there was way less pressure. Doing cold emails, way less pressure because it was like I'm going to be good at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I'm going to be taken care of. I know God cares about me. I know that if he cares about the birds, he cares about me even more. And I know that we're going to be well off. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like birds don't worry about what they're going to
Oh my
eat.
god, yeah, I know.
They don't worry about their clothes. They don't worry about any of that. They're all provided for. So how much more does God care about his children, the people he created? And so when I looked at it that way, there was this immense pressure that was lifted. It just was like I could breathe. And then I could really start operating out of abundance. Like, yeah, I'm looking to help people. If they don't see the vision, they don't see the vision. If they're willing to like dig into it a little bit and we really uncover what's happening and then they see the vision, great. If not, it's okay.
No,
It's
that's
not the right
amazing.
time. I'm not the right person for you. Yeah.
I love the bird analogy. I love birds,
Sure.
I admire birds
Yeah.
because they're always happy. They're
They are.
always happy.
Always singing.
Always singing,
They're
always
always
happy.
always flying. Yeah, you never see a mad bird. I don't know, a cow. Oh,
No cowness.
I know ravens. They're a
Uh,
blackbird. I don't know.
it's like dark and obscure, but I don't know the name. I forgot the name
Couldn't
of
tell
them.
you.
Anyway,
Sure.
I would find it after if in the audience, don't judge.
It'll be
I
in the
know
show
it.
notes.
I know it in French.
There you
It's
go.
corbeau.
Okay, I have no idea what that means, but nice.
Let me find it. I have to find it, man.
Yeah, you gotta pull it up. You're like, I promise I'm saying something true.
Oh yeah, it's crow. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, a crow. Yeah,
Crow,
yeah.
crow.
Crow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 That's the
Yeah.
bird. This one is not happy. He's super smart. I saw a documentary on it actually,
Oh.
and they give the crow like a puzzle that there's like a treat at the end of the puzzle. It's not puzzle like I mean you have to
Like an obstacle course type thing.
exactly, and
Sure.
that's something that maybe a 5 years old can solve if
Okay.
they think good
Right.
thing of it, 4 maybe. But the bird do it. Like the crow
Mm.
is able to do it. Is
Smart.
super,
Sure.
super, super, super smart and vicious.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
crazy. It's crazy. I loved your analogy. That's
Thank
deep.
you.
From the moment that I stopped worrying about perfection because I was like a super perfectionist,
Oh yeah.
and I don't recall exactly how that happened, but I think it was because of an analogy with Japanese culture, Japan as a whole. When you see Japan, right, you think like the country is perfect. There's no garbage on the street.
Yeah.
Everything is clean.
It's clean, innovation.
Exactly.
People seem happy. They're very fit. Yeah.
And but after when you take a step back and you ask yourself the question, if they think like you, like, oh, this has to be perfect, this has to be this and that, then how all of that can be possible? They just do it with high standards. So instead of being perfectionist, you can put like high standards to yourself, and then from the moment
That's
you
good.
reach the standard, then you're done, right? But after you just bring up your standards up again
So
and up
what's
again.
the difference? What's the difference? High standards versus perfection.
Perfection.
'Cause I really like this.
Perfection is you're never satisfied with your work. So if you put like an image or a video with kind of a higher, for example, podcasting, that will be a higher audio rate or whatever it might be. I don't know the exact term. And after you do it, you think, I'm gonna bring it back. And after you're gonna ask someone, what do you think? Okay, I'm gonna bring it back. You're always asking yourself questions. You doubt your work, your abilities, and so on. And something that is supposed to take you 1 hour, you gotta take 4 hours, 5 hours, because you don't have your standards. But if you put higher standards, whatever that might be, with checklists, whatever. What I did is, for example, for a book post, then my standards are need visual, need structure. Is it flow? Is it flowing good? Is it this? It is that. And then you give a nudge to yourself: 5 on 4, 3 on 5, 5 on 4. If you don't have your highest, like the score that you give for yourself, for example, 40 on 50, then you make it 40 and 50. You do whatever you need to do. But now, to let that happen, you have to be self-aware of giving yourself accurate feedback. And then this is another skill in itself, learning to give yourself feedback. You have to detach yourself, because it's like an alter ego, where like the one that you use to work in like kind of flow state.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty similar to athlete where they have alter ego. When, for example, Klay Thompson, they have like the third quarter Klay Thompson, where this alter ego only comes to
Sure.
in the third quarters. Then he becomes better shooting.
Right.
I mean, for example, also Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has alter ego on the fourth quarter, and called Dame Time, something like that, you know. And then took the same concept for your work environment. You develop an alter ego that doesn't care about like outside feedback, outside noise,
Right.
whatever it might be. You're only working with yourself or like your
Yeah.
split self in a way. Waking up your alter ego, you give feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go back to work. Pretty as simple as that. Yeah, it might sound complicated, but it is not. It's something that you need to practice at the end of the day. It's not something that comes on a blink of an eye, blink of a finger, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's...
Yeah. I relate that to, it's like wearing multiple hats. You know, when you're running a business and you're just getting started, you're CEO, CMO, COO, CTO, CFO, social media manager, bookkeeper, so on and so forth, sales, all that. Well, I have different hats that I wear. Throughout the course of this podcast and most interactions you and I have, Ahmed, I like to think I have a pretty like I'm not super up here. I'm not like rah 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 get in your face and all that, but I also don't talk like Eeyore, right? On sales calls though, because I now record them, looking back, my energy was awful. And the client or the prospect was reflecting the energy that I was projecting. And I realized I got to turn it on. So on sales calls, there's a few things I do. I make my desk so it's standing. I've noticed that my energy is different. I'm more up. More up when literally I'm standing up. And I realized I need to bring more energy to that call than I normally would. And that at first felt very difficult for me. It felt tiring because it wasn't my quote unquote natural state. But there's a time and place for everything. There's times to be serious. There's times to, be up, extremely energetic, and everything in between. So yeah, I follow that very much and agree that teaching yourself how to critique yourself without kicking yourself is extremely important because you are your most critical person. And that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. And it can lead to perfectionism and you feel terrible about your work all the time, or you're constantly pushing yourself for greater things.
Yeah, that's deep. The way that I look, like I said, I don't remember exactly, but when you're a perfectionist, there's most likely a lack of confidence, lack of skill, whatever, one of the other,
Mm-hmm.
And when there's lack of confidence, but your work is quote unquote good, then this is a lot like self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
And when you ask yourself like about the self-esteem, like, with who are you comparing yourself to? And that's the problem. Self-esteem comes from, oh, I want to do better than this, better than that. Because if you shut down everything, like no computer, no social media, whatever it might be, and you just create, then with what are you going to compare your work to, right? So
Yeah.
how are you going to establish your critique, your self-critique,
Mm-hmm.
your self-esteem, your have
Yeah.
something to compare to? And that's how I've seen it, and I'm like, yeah, that's only a facade, and who cares at the end of the day, because it's work, man. And
It is.
if like again, like hearing feedback, working with feedback is a skill in itself, and you just have to get better with it. I don't know. So
Oh yeah.
how do you do that?
Yeah. So, I'm a creative person. I'm not a photographer, I'm not a videographer, I'm not a graphic designer, I'm not an editor. I'm a creative that can do pieces of all of those and can see the broader creative vision. I'm also a business person and I can speak in the business world and I can mediate between creative and business. So when there were shows I was launching, and it's on me to speak with someone from speak with my client who 9 times out of 10, they're not creative. They're not. They're business people. They have an idea of kind of what they want, but I've had some, they have no clue. And then I need to go take their vision or lack thereof and basically design something to present to them. You know, Ahmed, that unless you have brand style guides, unless you have a brand, designs generally are objective. I can make a design that I think's really dope and you won't like it. You and I ran into that with our podcast Beyond the Book. I made all these like motion graphics and stuff like that, and you weren't a fan of it. So then we found a middle ground with it. Was my design bad? No. Was your design bad? No. We just have different tastes. All right. So that's setting the stage. So I made a design I really, really liked. I got feedback from people on my team. They're like, it's dope. Give it to the client. They hate it. They absolutely hate it. They wanted something like really, to me, what felt boring. And I kind of kept fighting with them a little bit. I was like, okay, I hear you. So here's the design you want. I said, but I also want to show you, like, here's the design you could have. My original one. And I showed like the full style ecosystem it would live in. They still like theirs more than mine. I'm like, all right, screw it. Whatever. Because perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yes.
And as your business is growing, I do not have time to be a perfectionist. I simply don't. There was a time where I was agonizing over kerning, over the spacing between letters. I would do it. I would zoom in to like 400, percent. And I'm just going back and forth. And I zoom out and I look. I stand back from the desk. I'm looking. I put it on my phone. I look. It's like, Matt, what are you doing? This is not worth your time. This is not something the client's going to see. And let's be real, if it's a social media post for that one client, maybe 15 people would see it. And it's like you're agonizing over something that 15 people may engage with.
I swear. Yeah, it's like, I swear to God, it's like an addiction.
It is.
And
oh, it absolutely is. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, you feel anxiety, you feel
there's this tension
exactly
inside of you.
And it's like even me, like, you can't stop, especially if you're doing something for you. When you're doing something for you, my goodness, oh my God. For my new website, I was like, but I already vanquished my my perfectionism by that time. But I just gave myself like 10 hours and I was in Bali. Like, I really don't have time to waste doing that. I have other things to do.
Get it done. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did like 5 hours on one day, 5 hours the next day, and I was done. Like, black and white, this and that.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. And everyone...
How'd you feel? How'd you feel afterwards? Because I know... Earlier on, when you and I first connected, I think you were working on the website, and it felt painstaking.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What were you feeling after you finished your website in 10 hours and you got rid of the perfectionistic ego?
So that's the thing, because I had other preoccupation other than the website itself. I didn't care for a second about the website, and. Even though, like, a lot of people on Twitter ask me, oh, what is your background, etc. Because I don't even, like, share that I'm a web designer, brand designer. I just share my interests as a whole. And it's not my preoccupation, again, like, learning about branding and so on. I really, like, learned a lot about that, etc. But they were like, oh, your writing is good, your website is good, but, like how? How that everything is good like that? I don't want to praise myself too much, that's what people are saying to me.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, because I'm a brand and web designer, but this is like, I feel it's the only website that I didn't give a shit about it for a second.
And everyone loves it.
Yeah, exactly,
Of course.
And there's like, this is my website is the dream website for someone else, and they're gonna take like maybe 2 months to be able to do it, So I feel every time that I write something, that I do something, I say to myself, that's the desired dream outcome for another one. The way that you write, the way that you produce podcasts, the way that you do everything, you can take this concept for anything in life, whether it's having the money, having the house, whatever it might be, you know. So when it comes to work and you think of it that way, then you can't be perfectionist, you can't be ungrateful, you can't be any negative bias regarding that, you know. You just knowing that someone else will dream of doing what you're doing, writing what you're writing, producing what you're producing, whatever it might be, you know.
I love that. I mean, that is, when you said that, my first thought was just gratitude and also humility, because someone could hear that and be like, well, yeah, the stuff I make, other people dream of making. But it's like, no, no, no. There's stuff that we look at that we dream of making. So it reminds us of our humanism, in that there's always going to be something we want, and there's always going to be people that want what we have. It's to be like, how far have we come? You know, and how humbling is it that work we create, other people are like, I wish my website looked like yours. I wish my podcast sounded like yours. And I really, really love that. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure, my pleasure. It
Yeah.
was it's that's what's interesting is when you meet other people and you start sharing your perspective, start understanding like other people's perspective, etc. And that's why I wanted to jump with a lot of people, meeting a lot of people to practice communication from the start. That was my thought in the beginning. Because I just wanted to translate my news data to YouTube video,
Sure.
and from YouTube video to podcast. But I was like, you know what? I want to do that because
Yeah.
that will help people get noticed. Not like this podcast will be, I don't know
Sure.
where, but
I understand.
it's still someone will listen to this, you know, will hear this,
And there'll be
and
one thing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they might start writing, they might start their podcast, they might start doing their website, whatever it might be. But I know that someone will benefit from it, and other will hate, but I don't really give a shit.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, you
Yeah.
know,
It's
it's
really good.
that's how it is, you know. But I saw that
I love it.
you're not active anymore on social media except for TikTok, right? TikTok.
But even that, I'm not even making content or anything. So my excuse is I don't have time. My excuse is I'm I'm doing client work, acquiring new business. That's my excuse. The reality is time is a factor, and I also just haven't made it a priority. When you and I first met, geez, a year and a half ago or whatever, I was pushing active on Twitter, did that for maybe 3 months and didn't see the results I wanted. It wasn't even followers or anything. I don't care about that. It was, I wanted to get more calls booked, and I had unqualified calls. So I had calls with people that like have no budget. They just want to start a podcast for passion, which is fantastic. Do it. I just didn't have time to dedicate to like walking people through, like, I'm going to give you the roadmap for free on how to accomplish this thing. So yeah, I'm at a point right now where I'm toying with the idea of what would it look like if I hired a social media manager, someone that I will shoot the content, but it would be nice to work with someone that was co-creating topics. And yeah, so that would be the approach. I also have been thinking of, I produce podcasts. I don't have my own.
Yeah.
What would that look like? I've been toying with getting booked on podcasts and doing stuff like that. So yeah, you're right. I'm not active on social, and my main excuse is I don't have the time. But it's really I don't see the value in it at this point for me to dedicate the time. Yeah.
I totally understandable. But I mean, like, even like a video, on the back on the back of Matt working on the behind the
Sure.
scene. But I mean,
That could be fun.
I remember that you sent me a PDF in ebook about like how to start a podcast, or I don't know, reasons
Oh,
for
yeah.
starting a podcast or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Sure.
That would be like the perfect thing for those who don't have the budget for you, if I recall
You're
like
right.
that.
You're right. Yeah, that would be. No, there's been a number. I have another one I made. It was like a 10-page PDF on creating content for LinkedIn. I don't even know if I published that. It's all made. It's in Drive. I don't think I did anything with that. Probably should.
I mean, yeah, why not? You know,
Yeah.
this it's
Yeah.
always when I say to myself like, why not? If there's the
Hmm.
why not, then you don't do it. But if there isn't, then you do it. But so if the why
Yeah,
not
it's
is
the I think to really spur action for me would require I need to have a game plan because
hmm,
I tried the for a while. I'm gonna make a video a day, post on TikTok. That didn't work because then life happened and it was like that wasn't feasible. Perfectionism crept in and I was taking too long to edit videos. Um, I would need a game plan and I do think I would need some accountability with support, and that would probably be a paid position, and that's cool. But there are a few things, coming down. The Utopia community that we're both a part of, the founder that was we just launched the podcast. He reached out to see if I would be interested in doing a monthly kind of like a keynote, a presentation, podcasting related, and I agreed. It's for the community only, but I'll be doing that on the 28th, I believe, of every month. Um, I'm playing with is this going to be a live call or pre-recorded? My first one is how do you make money from podcasting? The three
interesting.
ways that I've seen to actually make money, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to like doing more engagements like that. I'll probably do some more podcast bookings, talking on shows, and
Also,
yeah.
for someone who was gonna reach to this point of the conversation,
Hmm.
just to give context that like you have an agency
Yep.
podcast. You know, you can just say what you do exactly, so I don't
Sure.
mess this up.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So I run a company called Old Soul, and Old Soul specializes in lead generation through podcasting. The basic idea with that is we're going to find the people you want to do business with, build a podcast for your company, and invite those individuals to the show for you to start a relationship with. And we've taken that model and we've generated several millions of dollars for clients with it. And that's what we do. So we create podcasts, we edit them, we distribute, and then we promote them.
Got it. Amazing. So
Yeah,
for my
thanks.
context, now like I'm doing this for fun. You know, I don't really
Sure.
care. But at some point, for example, just gonna
Hmm.
do some projection here. I
Hmm.
have 1 million across social media followers following, like 200 on
Sure.
Twitter, 200K on Twitter, 100K on YouTube, whatever might be on Instagram,
Hmm.
TikTok, whatever. How would that help me on that for that instance?
With the podcast specifically,
Yeah, correct.
yeah. So I podcasting would be a huge moneymaker for you in that situation because unlike you getting uh, a sneaker and you're promoting it on a YouTube video or whatever, you're sponsored by or whatever, you can do that for podcasting and there's going to be a wider reach. So you could offer up, your podcast would have monetization just like YouTube or Spotify does, where it's like BetterHelp is doing a random commercial midway through or whatever. But you could also have the private sponsors as well, where people are getting promo codes, affiliate deals for you, stuff like that. And the podcast would also be a vehicle to get you interviewing or inviting guests of a different caliber because then you can start selling them. So the podcast is reaching X number of people, but I have a online social presence of over 1 million.
Hmm.
That is worth a lot. That has 2 million because hey, we have 3 million in reach right now that we can, get this message out to.
Win-win. Got it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm excited about it. But like I said, it
Yeah.
wasn't my goal with the podcast from the
Sure.
beginning. But I mean, we have to put potentialities on
Yes. No, you
perspective.
gotta speak it. You gotta speak it. You have to, be willing to accept that and have the energy of I am going to accept that. So yeah, I see it in your future.
Yeah. Just to close that up, like I had an interesting conversation with someone that I met on Twitter yesterday, called V on Twitter,
Okay.
and the guy does system on Notion, but he doesn't want like tell the people that he do it with Notion. You know, he wanted to sell like the solution to problems with systems, and he asked me a
Okay.
question like to help me visualize how he can help people. For example, you are making X amount of money, whether it's 30K per month, 20K, whatever, and then he tells you, like how your company will be if you are making 100K per month. Like, what are the gaps? What are the problems that you see right now making 100K per month? What you need? What do you need to do? Right? And that, like, for me, it's more like what's gonna look like if I have 100K followers right now, and that's a more organized content system, capturing idea, etc., etc. So now, like, my goal for problems that I don't have yet are
Yeah.
organizing my second brain, make like start like organizing everything, like how I capture ideas, how I spend less time doing X task, this task, start building like customer support, how I want to hire those people, how I want them to talk with my customers, etc., etc. And yeah, that's very valuable, like resolving problems that doesn't exist yet by
That's just
visualization.
Yeah, I think that's just good business sense. It's forecasting. Uh, we had Jordan Ross on one of our shows. He runs eight-figure agency, something like that, and they're a systems guy. And he brought up this concept called agency prison. Basically, where you feel stuck in your business, where really you're a glorified freelancer, um, but your business can't run without you.
Hmm.
And I realized, oh, I'm in agency prison because I was thinking when my soon to be wife and I go on our honeymoon, would I really be able to shut things down for those 7 days, 10 days, whatever? At this point, no. And I was like, that ain't going to fly for me. So I need to work on things now that are going to set me up that, yeah, when that comes in October, November, I can take off and I'm not worried about my business. I'm not worried about, we still have new deals coming in, acquisition, clients are still happy and being serviced, but that requires, foresight now. And that's as a business owner, you're very much driving a car, making sure the car is intact. That's where you're at currently in your business, but you also have to be looking ahead to see, is there a point where I need to divert? Is there an obstacle on the road? It's a constant, like, I'm checking on my car now, but I'm also looking to the future. So I think that's really fantastic what you broke
Yeah,
down.
amazing, amazing. Yeah, sounds super interesting. And even like when you reach that a certain point of your goal visualized, and then you
Hmm.
have to still like scale little bit by little bit instead
Yeah.
of like just having, I don't know, 20 more clients in
Yeah.
a month instead of like 5, 6, and
Yeah.
scale like. Yeah, I feel like
Absolutely.
you're gonna have a fulfilling business, at the point where
Thank you,
you can
bro.
like just get out, do whatever you want without having to
That's
worry.
the
That will be
goal.
like, that's
Yeah.
what will you do actually? That's a good thing to know.
Start a nonprofit. That's my
Oh,
goal. So my
awesome.
goal is I'm going to build this to be very large, start a nonprofit. The business can provide cash flow for me, um, and I can then use that to fund the nonprofit, or the business will fund the non. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I want to run the nonprofit full time.
Awesome. I wish that for you. Like, man, I give you
Thank you.
5 years. 5 years is a good
That's
mark.
that's kind of my goal. I want to do it before 30, because that is where my passion is. You know.
Got
So
it. That's
yeah,
amazing.
man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
passion guy right here. Or
Thank you.
multi passion? Do you consider yourself multi
Oh yeah.
passionate?
I believe all people are. I mean, we're too complex as human beings to not have multiple passions.
That's
You have a
that's amazing.
passion, you have a passion to eat, you have a passion to, to watch movies, you have a passion to have fun, to travel. Like, yeah. So no, I'm very much multi-passionate.
Amazing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a good way to close it. Everyone is multi-passionate.
Yes.
So with that, we'll see
Yes.
you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.